After a military buildup lasting almost 2 months, the United States of America and Israel have finally struck Iran. I think after what might have probably felt like an eternity to the Iranian people of waiting for this moment, these initial strikes turned out to be absolutely devastating. And not only that, they turned out to be devastatingly accurate, leading to the deaths of some of the most important senior leaders of the IRGC, and perhaps even more importantly, the death of the Supreme Leader, Ali Khamenei.
Assalamu alaikum. This is your new Supreme Leader speaking. Well, I warned Ali this would happen, and he just kept talking trash like we couldn't Maduro his old ass. Anyway, enjoy your new freedom, people. We're going to have bikini parties, all-you-can-eat buffets, dancing to country music, and singing karaoke all night long. We're going to have the best fiestas with delicious margaritas and sexy mamacitas.
After this regime murdered over 40,000 innocent, unarmed protesters within a few days, this should serve as justice. However, what was more striking were the reactions. Of course, Iranians all over the world reacted like this. But while they were celebrating, and I would say rightfully so, I couldn't help shake the fact that there were many people, the usual suspects of course, visibly rather upset about this, even disregarding international politics. Just by the mere fact that the butchers of innocent protesters got killed should, I would think, give a reason for the average person to rejoice. But there was none of that. Instead, there was a lot of anger at Ali Khamenei being sent to see 72 virgins while he was likely having brunch with his wife. Let's start with a man who also believes he would get 72 virgins in heaven. Mayor of New York City, Zohran Mamdani. Let's see what he said here. Today's military strikes on Iran, carried out by the United States and Israel, mark a catastrophic escalation in an illegal war of aggression, bombing cities, killing civilians, opening a new theater of war. Americans do not want this. They do not want another war in pursuit of regime change. They want relief from the affordability crisis. They want peace. And then he goes on to say more about affordability in New York City. Well, Zohran, perhaps you should speak to some of those Iranians in your city and ask them why they had to flee their country to begin with. Maybe then you'll realize why they are celebrating. But if you joined me during the live stream yesterday when this was happening initially, I did also say this whole thing about illegal wars, I don't agree. We love to talk about international law like it's this sacred, unbreakable code of the universe. But if we're being honest, in the real world, international law is mostly just words or suggestions. It's ink on paper that looks great in a frame until someone with a bigger stick decides they don't like the font. For the vast majority of human history, the world hasn't been run by committees. It's been run by great powers. It's run by the nations that have the resources, the military, and of course, someone willing to use both of them. They do what they want because they can. Mind you, this isn't a moral endorsement from me. I'm simply stating a historical reality. This whole concept of a rules-based order is a recent phenomenon, a blink in the eye of history. We've had maybe 80 years of pretending the tiger has been tamed by a leash made of tissue paper, by the way. But when a superpower's national interests hit a norm, guess which one wins every single time? Side note, if you're enjoying the video, please give it a like and hit subscribe. This channel is entirely fan supported, so if you want to support the work and the mission behind it, consider joining Patreon. That's what keeps the channel alive and gives you early access, long and uncensored videos, written articles, and member-only chats. Now, let's leave champagne socialist Zohran Mamdani for a minute and go to a US Congresswoman, Rashida Tlaib. Not sure what her thoughts on the 72 virgins are, but this tweet really caught my eye. Both the US and genocidal Israel doesn't care about the laws. This is who they are. I might be completely wrong here, but isn't she a US Congresswoman representing the USA? So what does she mean by who they are? Doesn't she consider herself part of the they in this situation, considering she's referring to the US? Well, of course not. Rashida is yet another great example of the Red-Green alliance. It truly is a bit of a mask slip moment, because even where she disagrees with them, she makes it out like she's completely separate from the United States. These people consistently remind us that when you really get down to it, they are fundamentally opposed to these countries that they live in. And in her case, where she has been elected to represent a good chunk of people, but then she goes on to say, you cannot free people by killing them and destroying their country. Hang on, the people getting killed in this instance are the leaders of a regime who only recently killed over 40,000 of their own. The people who died were the ones trying to free their country. But it looks like she has inverted this reality. Does this surprise anyone? Now, let's move on to the UK for a little bit. Here we have local Red-Green Alliance MP Zarah Sultana. You might have seen me talk about her quite often on this channel before. Here she is asking for Britain to shut down all US military sites in the United Kingdom and expel all the troops currently there. If the people of Britain decide to do so unilaterally, then that is well within their right. However, people like Zarah, who almost entirely talks about third world grievances over actual issues impacting Britain, they don't seem to understand Britain and the US have been extremely close, strong allies for a long time before she moved over from Bangladesh. This is an alliance forged in blood. And no, she absolutely did not vote for this because she wasn't there at the time. This is a relationship that was hammered out in the trenches of the world wars and solidified in the existential shadow of the Cold War. For nearly a century, when the world caught fire, these two nations bled together, and I don't think Zarah's third world grievance politics could outweigh that. Zarah and her insane Red-Green alliance, who are rapidly gaining power, might want to shut down allied bases. But in the meantime, what's actually getting shut down by governments across the West is your ability to share your opinion online. That's exactly why I use Proton VPN and why I think you should too. They're based in Switzerland, outside the reach of US, EU, UK and Australian law. They don't keep logs and are built by the same team behind Proton Mail. When the UK passed its surveillance laws, Proton VPN became the #1 app on the App Store. Their stealth protocol beats censorship firewalls. Secure Core routes your traffic through privacy-first countries, and NetShield blocks trackers before they ever reach you. I've used Proton Mail since Australia announced sweeping surveillance laws last year, and I'm not exaggerating when I say it's now essential. If you want to protect your privacy and support this channel, hit the link below to get up to 60% off Proton VPN. Now, of course, I can't forget everyone's favorite streamer, Hasan. It's actually not entirely about what he said, most of which was the same as Zohran and the rest. It was actually about what he's reposted or seemingly endorsed. Here's a tweet that goes, Iran's leader had a 52% disapproval rating, so the USA murdered him. Trump sitting at 60% disapproval rating. I don't make the rules. Now, what exactly does he mean to show his rather large and somewhat deranged audience by sharing this? Well, let's not be blunt here, because we know exactly what he's saying, and we know exactly what he's implying here. We've already seen 2 attempts made on Donald Trump's life, and we can even go further and add in Charlie Kirk to the equation, where it was exactly the rhetoric pushed by people like Hasan that ultimately led to an insane leftist taking action. These people were so disliked by the American population that they actually lost the popular vote to Donald Trump, but also got handily defeated. But it looks like because they don't want to do this the way a normal, functional democracy would, they are once again leaning into the dark strategy of stochastic terrorism. See, they know they can't just come out and give a direct order. That would be too honest and far too risky. Instead, they broadcast a constant stream of dehumanizing rhetoric to a massive, radicalized audience, effectively priming the pump. You are signaling to every unstable person in your digital orbit that the rules of democracy no longer apply, and that certain people are now legitimate targets. It's a coward's game. You provide the ideological fuel, you point at the target, and then you wash your hands of the consequences when some lone wolf actually takes action. Now, of course, I had to include this video from America's favorite Muslim, Sneako.
امام علی صلوات الله علیه و سلامه علیهما در ماه مبارک رمضان با سر دادن ندای آسمانی فست و به رب الکعبه به ساحت مقدس الهی واصل گردید و شهد گوارای شهادت را در این ماه مبارک
I don't know if I need to even add anything further here. This guy might be the most performative Muslim convert on the internet right now. And let's not even forget he had people ensure this angle of him praying in New York City wouldn't be obstructed. Going back to the UK, let's see what Bushra Sheh, the UK representative for pan-Islamism and Islam taking over the world, has to say about this issue.
Assalamu alaikum. Hi, everyone. I thought I'd take a moment just to share some of my thoughts about day one of this criminal, illegal, premeditated, unconstitutional attack on a sovereign nation. That is Iran.
Now, mind you, Bushra was in Iran on an IRGC-sponsored propaganda tour just before this. Last night, when I was doing the live stream, one of the first things I saw from Bushra was this upload of the regime flag. And of course, she doesn't stop there. She even goes as far as saying she would be very supportive of Pakistan, which I'm assuming she identifies with a lot more than Britain, should give Iran a nuclear weapon. See what I told you before playing out here? Bushra with a British accent while living in Britain still hasn't assimilated. According to Starmer, British planes are currently partaking in some of these operations to protect allies in the Middle East. Meanwhile, Bushra is genuinely threatening for a regime that has no problem oppressing its very large non-Muslim population, by the way, to hopefully have them annihilate allies in the region with nuclear weapons. You could even assume her rhetoric here goes beyond this regime hitting their Middle Eastern enemies, but those in Europe. Bushra can always hide away in Pakistan or some other shithole, right? Elsewhere in Britain, we can already see tons of regime supporters, most of whom ironically look like they might be Pakistani and Bangladeshi, take to the streets. And you can't help but notice Bangladeshi deputy leader of the Green Party, the second most popular party in Britain by the way, within this crowd. Well, to be honest, what more can you expect from an Islamist like him? They are subverters, a fifth column that is becoming increasingly common. Look, going beyond all of that, I really do hope that this ends with the regime finally losing power in the country and Iranians finding themselves a free people. This isn't 2003. There is no talk of boots on the ground. The strategy has shifted from regime change to regime collapse. The pressure is coming from the outside, but the final blow? That belongs to the people in the streets. Not the USA, not Israel, not anyone else, but the Iranian people. President Trump has laid out the ultimate revolutionary off-ramp. He's speaking directly to the 900,000 security forces, offering a cold, clear choice. Conditional immunity if you walk away now, or death if you stay. If the lower-ranking soldiers who are suffering just like the protesters refuse to fire, the regime evaporates. The choice is no longer between two leaders, but between a dying past and a sovereign future. For the first time in decades, the door to a free Iran is wide open. It's just a matter of who has the courage to walk through it first.
In the neon haze of a broken dawn, steel towers hum, but the wild runs on.